Captain Jake Morrison stared out at the massive space station floating in the dark. After 3 months of travel, they had finally reached Nexus Prime. The ship Aurora moved slowly toward the docking bay. Jake could feel his heart beating fast. This was humanity's first real chance to join the galaxy. "Captain, we're getting signals from the station," said Amy Thompson from her seat at communications. She was young but good at her job. "They want us to dock at Bay 7. Take us in, Lieutenant," Jake said to the pilot. He turned to look at his small crew. Dr. Lisa Martinez sat checking her medical equipment one more time. She was the best. Dr. Earth had, and they would need her skills today. Ben Carter stood near the weapons controls, but his guns were powered down. They came in peace that the docking went smooth. Jake straightened his blue uniform and walked to the airlock. The other 3 followed him. When the door opened, they got their first look at real aliens. The creature waiting for them was tall as 2 men and made of what looked like living crystal. Its body caught the light and threw rainbows on the walls. When it spoke, the words came out cold and clear. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian people. You are the humans from the planet Earth." "Yes, sir," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm Captain Morrison. This is Dr. Martinez, Lieutenant Commander Carter, and Communications Officer Thompson." Veltar looked at each of them with eyes like blue diamonds. "Follow me." The council waits. They walked through halls that were bigger than anything on Earth. Other aliens moved past them. Jake saw bug-like creatures with 6 arms carrying heavy boxes. Floating balls of gas drifted by, making soft sounds like whispers. Everything was clean and organized, but it felt cold. "The Galactic Coalition has existed for 2,000 of your years," Veltar said as they walked. 12 species work together. In perfect order, each knows their place. Each serves their purpose. Lisa Martinez looked around with wide eyes. As a doctor, she was used to helping anyone who needed it. But here she saw the bug creatures doing all the hard work, while the crystal beings gave orders. It made her feel uncomfortable. They entered a huge room with a high ceiling. 12 different types of aliens sat in a circle. The crystal beings sat highest. Below them were others Jake had never seen before. At the bottom sat the bug creatures, and a few others that looked tired and beaten down. "Humans," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We have studied your species. We know of your wars. We know of your violence. We know you fight your own kind." Jake felt his face get hot. It was true that humans had fought wars, but they had also done good things. He wanted to say this, but Veltar raised a crystal hand. "Before you can join the coalition, you must prove you can follow our ways. You must show that you understand proper order." 2 bug creatures brought in another of their kind. This one was hurt. Its left arm hung, broken, and green blood dripped on the floor. The injured alien's big black eyes looked scared and tired. "This worker is damaged," Veltar said, his voice showing no feeling. "It cannot perform its duties. By coalition law, it must be terminated. You will observe this process." Lisa Martinez felt her stomach drop. She was a doctor. She had promised to help sick and hurt beings. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "Wait," she said. "I can help. I can fix its arm." The room went completely quiet. Every alien stared at her. Veltar's crystal body seemed to grow brighter. "You wish to help a worker drone?" he asked. "A being of lower caste from another species?" "It's hurt," Lisa said simply. "I'm a doctor. I help hurt people." Ben Carter moved up beside her. As security chief, his job was to protect the mission. But he could not stand by and watch murder. "She's right. We can't just let you kill someone who can be helped." Amy Thompson stepped forward too. "On Earth, we believe all life has value. Jake. Morrison felt proud of his crew, but he also felt scared. This was not going how they planned. Still, he could not tell his people to watch an execution. He moved to stand with them. The injured bug creature looked up at the humans with surprise. No one had ever tried to help one of its kind before. It made a soft clicking sound that might have been thanks. Veltar turned to speak with the other council members in their own language. The sounds were like music mixed with breaking glass. Jake could not understand the words, but he could tell they were surprised and maybe angry. Finally, Veltar turned back to them. This is not how things are done. There is an order to the galaxy. Each species has its place. Workers are replaced, not repaired. Maybe your order is wrong, Lisa said quietly. The words hit the council like a bomb. Several aliens made shocked sounds. The floating gas being spun faster. Even some of the lower caste aliens looked up with hope in their eyes. You dare question thousands of years of civilization? Veltar asked. We question any system that throws away lives, Jake said. He knew they might be ending humanity's chance to join the galaxy, but some things were more important than politics. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. His crystal body pulsed with different colors. Guards, take the humans to quarters. The council must discuss this. As they were led away, Lisa looked back at the injured alien. She wanted to help, but the guards pushed her forward. The alien watched them go with its big black eyes. In their rooms, the four humans sat around a small table. No one spoke for a while. Finally, Ben Carter broke the silence. Think we just made humanity's first enemy in space? Maybe, Jake said. But I'm proud of what we did. Amy Thompson nodded. We showed them who we really are. Outside their window, Nexus Prime spun slowly in space. Somewhere in the station, the council was deciding humanity's fate. But in the lower levels, word was already spreading among the worker castes. For the first time in their lives, someone had cared about them. The humans did not know it yet, but they had just started a revolution. 3 days passed with no word from the council. The humans stayed in their rooms, waiting. Jake Morrison paced back and forth like a caged animal. Ben Carter cleaned his weapons, even though they were already spotless. Amy Thompson tried to learn alien languages from the computer, but the words made no sense. Dr. Lisa Martinez could not stop thinking about the injured alien. She had become a doctor to help people, not to sit in a room doing nothing. On the third morning, she made a decision. I'm going to find their medical center, she told the others. Lisa, that might not be smart, Jake said. We don't want to make things worse. How can helping sick people make things worse? She asked. I'm a doctor. I need to see how they treat their patients. Ben Carter looked worried. The guards might not let you wander around. Then I'll ask them nicely, Lisa said with a smile. The guard outside their door was one of the bug creatures. Its name tag said, Drone 447, in alien writing that Amy had learned to read. When Lisa approached, the alien stepped back in fear. Please, Lisa said slowly. I want to see your medical center. I am a healer. The alien looked confused. No one had ever said, please to it before. After a moment, it pointed down the hall. With one of its 4 arms, Lisa followed the directions through twisting passages. The further she went from the main levels, the darker and dirtier everything became. She found elevators that went down instead of up. When she got off at the bottom level, she gasped. The place was like a city built under the city. Hundreds of aliens lived in small spaces between the station's big support beams, but these aliens were different from the ones upstairs. Many were missing arms or legs. Others had scars or strange growths. Some looked sick and weak. You should not be here. Human, Lisa turned around. Behind her stood an alien that looked like the crystal beings upstairs, but smaller and duller. Its body was cracked in several places, and one of its arms was twisted wrong. "I'm a doctor," Lisa said. "I want to help." The alien laughed, but it sounded sad. "I am Crix. I was born broken. My people threw me away because I can feel what others feel. They say this is a sickness." "Feeling for others isn't sick," Lisa said. "It's what makes someone good." Crix stared at her with dim blue eyes. "You truly believe this?" "Yes. On my world, we think caring about others is one of the best things a person can do." More aliens came out of the shadows. Lisa saw bug creatures with missing limbs. She saw floating gas aliens that stayed in solid form instead of drifting like clouds. She saw types of aliens she had never seen before, all with something wrong that made their own people reject them. "They call us the Broken Ones," said a bug creature with only 2 arms instead of 6. "I am Thane. I was a soldier until I refused to kill wounded enemies. My commander said I was defective." "And I am Whisper," said a gas alien in a soft voice. "My people live as clouds, but I stayed solid to care for abandoned children. They said I was choosing weakness." Lisa felt her heartbreak for these people. They had been thrown away for being kind. She rolled up her sleeves and opened her medical bag. "Well, I think you're all perfect," she said. "Now, who needs help?" Word traveled fast through the underground city. Within hours, a line of injured aliens waited to see the human doctor. Lisa worked without stopping. She set broken bones, cleaned infected wounds, and gave medicine for pain. But something else happened too. As Lisa helped one alien, others started helping each other. Thane used his engineering skills to make a walking device for a crippled gas alien. A small reptile creature that could see in the dark guided blind aliens around the tunnels. Crix used his ability to feel emotions to comfort scared children of different species. When Jake Morrison finally found Lisa 12 hours later, he could not believe what he saw. The underground city had changed. Aliens who had been enemies upstairs were working together down here. They were sharing food, taking care of each other's children, and building things as a team. "Lisa, what did you do?" Jake asked. "I just showed them that someone cared," she said, bandaging a young alien's cut. "They did the rest themselves." Ben Carter and Amy Thompson arrived soon after. Ben looked around at all the activity with amazement. These were supposed to be the broken ones, the failures. But they had organized themselves better than many human communities. "This is incredible," Amy said. She was watching a group of different aliens teaching each other their languages. They're sharing knowledge across species lines. "The Council would not approve," Crix said quietly. "If they knew we were working together, they would separate us." "Then we won't tell them," Ben said. "This is your home. You have the right to live how you want." Amy started teaching basic human medical techniques to some of the aliens. Ben helped them organize supply distribution. Jake just watched in wonder as species that had been taught to hate each other became friends. But they were not as hidden as they thought. High above, security cameras had been watching. In the council chambers, Veltar stared at the screens with growing alarm. "The humans are corrupting the broken ones," he said to the other council members. "They are teaching them to ignore their proper places." "Perhaps we should terminate the humans now," suggested a war chief from the military caste, "before this spreads further." But Veltar was thinking. The productivity reports from the lower levels had improved dramatically in just 3 days. Somehow, the broken ones were working better together than they ever had apart. The numbers made no sense according to coalition science. "No," he said finally. "We will watch. We will learn what the humans are really doing. Then we will decide their fate." Down in the underground city, Lisa finished helping her last patient of the day. An old alien that looked like a walking tree had brought her food from the communal kitchen. The meal was made from ingredients contributed by 6 different species. "Thank you for showing us a new way," the tree alien said in broken common language. "I didn't show you anything," Lisa replied. "You already knew how to be kind. You just needed someone to remind you that it was okay." As the humans prepared to return to their quarters, Thane approached Jake Morrison. "Captain, why do your people help those who are not your own kind?" Jake thought for a moment. "Because we believe that if someone needs help, and you can give it, then you should. It doesn't matter what they look like or where they come from, even if they cannot help you back." "Especially then," Jake said. Thane clicked his mandibles together, which Lisa had learned was how his people showed they were thinking hard. "Your people are very strange, Captain Morrison." "I know," Jake said with a smile. "We're proud of it." As they rode the elevator back up to their level, none of the humans knew that word of their actions was already spreading through the stations. Communication networks. Workers on every level were quietly asking each other the same question. If the humans could care about the broken ones, what else might be possible? The revolution was growing, one act of kindness at a time. On the 7th day, Ambassador Veltar finally came to see the humans. His crystal body seemed brighter than before, and his blue eyes held something that might have been anger. Jake Morrison and his crew were eating breakfast when the door opened. "The council has made its decision," Veltar said without greeting them. "You will face 3 trials. If you pass, humanity may join the coalition. If you fail, your species will be forbidden from leaving your solar system." Jake stood up slowly. "What kind of trials?" "First, you must prove your military strength. Second, you must show economic value. Third, you must demonstrate cultural compatibility." Veltar paused. "The council expects you to fail." Ben Carter felt his jaw tighten. "And if we refuse to take your tests, then you leave immediately and never return." Lisa Martinez looked at her captain. They had come so far to give up now. But she also knew these aliens did not understand humans very well. Maybe that could work in their favor. "We accept," Jake said. 2 hours later, they stood in a massive training facility. The room was as big as 10 football fields, with obstacles, targets, and simulation equipment everywhere. Alien soldiers from different species watched from observation decks above. "Your first test is combat efficiency," announced a huge bug creature with scars covering its shell. This was War Chief Gorth, leader of the coalition military. "You will face our best warriors in 5 scenarios. Victory is measured by speed of enemy elimination and tactical superiority." Ben Carter looked at his small team. Besides himself, he had only 2 other security officers from the Aurora. They were outnumbered 50-1, and these aliens had been fighting wars for thousands of years. "What weapons can we use?" Ben asked. "Any from your ship's armory," Gorth replied. "Choose wisely, human." Ben surprised everyone by choosing stun weapons instead of lethal ones. The alien observers made sounds of confusion. Lisa Martinez smiled. She knew Ben was thinking like a human, not like a warrior. The first scenario was a direct assault. 12 Crothuri soldiers, the bug warriors, attacked from the front. Ben's team spread out and used cover, but instead of shooting to kill, they aimed to disable. When a Crothuri fell, Ben would call out medic, and Lisa would run to help the wounded alien. The alien observers were shocked. No species in coalition history had ever stopped fighting to help fallen enemies. War Chief Gorth watched with all 4 of his eyes as Lisa Martinez risked her life to save a Crothuri soldier who had been trying to kill her moments before. The second scenario was worse. Ben's team had to rescue hostages from a building. The hostages were aliens from different species, and coalition doctrine said to prioritize. high-caste species over low-caste ones. But the humans did something no one expected. They saved everyone. When Amy Thompson had to choose between rescuing a crystal being or 3 worker drones, she found a way to save them all. When Jake Morrison could have completed the mission faster by leaving injured hostages behind, he stayed to help them. By the 3rd scenario, word had spread through the station. Aliens from every level came to watch these strange humans who fought to protect instead of to destroy. Even some of the broken ones snuck up from the lower levels to see what was happening. The 4th test was the hardest. Ben's team had to stop a terrorist attack, but the terrorists were actually coalition soldiers, pretending to be rebels. The scenario was designed to make the humans shoot first and ask questions later. Instead, Ben Carter did something that made War Chief Gorth's mandibles drop open. He walked up to the terrorists with his weapon lowered and started talking to them. "I know you're angry," Ben said to the lead terrorist, a young Crothery who was shaking with rage. "But violence won't fix anything. Let's talk about what's really wrong." The scenario was supposed to end with a firefight. Instead, it ended with Ben Carter sitting in a circle with alien soldiers, listening to their complaints about the Coalition's caste system. The young Crothari warrior was crying as he talked about watching his brother die because medical care was only for higher castes. The final scenario never happened. War Chief Gorth called a halt to the testing. "This is not how warfare is conducted," he announced. "The humans have failed to demonstrate proper military doctrine." But something strange happened in the observation decks. Instead of cheering their military's victory, many aliens were quiet. Some were even arguing among themselves. A young Crothery in the crowd stood up. "War Chief, why did the humans help our wounded?" "Because they are weak and foolish," Gorth replied. "But our wounded got better," the young warrior said. "The humans made them stronger, not weaker." An old crystal being spoke next. "I have watched wars for 300 years. I have never seen enemies become friends on a battlefield before." War Chief Gorth felt uncomfortable. The humans had broken every rule of combat, but somehow their way seemed to work. Wounded soldiers who should have been left to die were now standing and talking with their former enemies. After the testing, Jake Morrison approached War Chief Gorth privately. "Chief, can I ask you something?" Gorth's 4 eyes narrowed. "Speak. Why do you fight wars?" "To defeat enemies. To protect the Coalition." "But what if you could protect the Coalition without making enemies?" Gorth was quiet for a long moment. In all his years of warfare, no one had ever asked him that question. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Lisa Martinez was treating both human and alien injuries from the training. A Crothari soldier, whose arm she had healed earlier, brought her some alien food as thanks. "Dr. Human," the soldier said in broken common language, "why you fix enemies?" "You're not my enemy," Lisa said simply. "You're just someone who was hurt." The Crothari soldier thought about this. In his culture, anyone who fought you was an enemy forever. But this human had shown him kindness when she could have left him in pain. "On my world," the soldier said slowly, "we have saying, strong warrior defeats enemy, but you do different thing. You make enemy become not enemy. That's because the strongest thing you can do is help someone who can't help you back," Lisa explained. Amy Thompson was having similar conversations with other aliens. Her job was communications, but she found herself translating more than just words. She was helping different species understand each other's feelings and thoughts. Ben Carter found himself surrounded by young alien warriors asking questions. They wanted to know why humans chose to protect instead of destroy. Some of them had never considered that there might be other ways to solve problems besides fighting Dot as the day ended. War Chief Gorth sat alone in his office, staring at reports from the training exercise. By every military measure, the humans had failed. They were slow, inefficient, and they broke protocol constantly. but his soldiers were acting differently. Krathari warriors were helping wounded Zephyrians. Crystal beings were sharing supplies with gas creatures. Species that had barely tolerated each other for centuries were suddenly working together. A knock came at his door. One of his junior officers entered, a young Krathari named Zek. "War Chief, I have a question." "Yes?" "The humans say we are all people, not just warriors or workers or rulers. Do you think this could be true?" Gorth looked at this young soldier who had been raised to believe that his only value was his ability to fight. For the first time, Gorth wondered what Zek might accomplish if he believed he could be more than just a weapon. "I do not know, Zek," Gorth said honestly, "but perhaps it is worth finding out." High above in the council chambers, Ambassador Veltar was receiving reports from across the station. The humans' influence was spreading faster than anyone had expected. Workers were asking questions. Soldiers were showing mercy. Even some council members were beginning to doubt the old ways. "Tomorrow brings the economic trial," Veltar said to himself. "Perhaps that will end this madness." But deep down, he was beginning to fear that nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, the humans were taken to the industrial section of Nexus Prime. The air smelled of hot metal and chemicals. Huge machines made loud noises, and aliens of all kinds worked at different jobs. But Jake Morrison noticed something. That made him feel sick. The crystal beings sat in clean offices high above the factory floor, giving orders through speakers. The bug creatures did the dangerous work with heavy machinery. The gas aliens floated around carrying messages. And at the bottom, in the dirtiest and most dangerous jobs, were species Jake had never seen before. "This is Trade Master Quantus," said Ambassador Veltar, pointing to a large crystal being with gold markings. "He will explain your economic trial." Trade Master Quantus looked down at the humans with cold eyes. "The Coalition's economy has worked perfectly for 1,000 years. Each species performs the work they are naturally suited for. The strong do heavy labor. The smart do thinking work. The weak do simple tasks." Lisa Martinez watched a small alien creature struggling to lift a box twice its size. No one helped it. When it stumbled, the other workers just walked around it. "Your trial is simple," Quantus continued. "We will give you control of mining station Theta 7. It has been losing money for 2 years. If you can make it profitable using coalition methods, you pass. If not, you fail." Amy Thompson raised her hand. "What if we want to use our own methods?" "Impossible," Quantus said. "You must follow proper worker classification and established hierarchy. Any deviation will result in immediate failure." Ben Carter whispered to Jake, "This feels like a trap." Jake nodded. They were being set up to fail, but maybe they could find another way. Mining Station Theta 7 was a disaster. The facility was built into an asteroid and mined valuable crystals, but everything was falling apart. The air recycling system barely worked. The mining equipment broke down constantly. Workers were getting hurt every day. Jake called his team together in the station's control room. Through the windows, they could see hundreds of alien workers moving slowly through dark tunnels. "The Coalition says we have to use their system," Jake said. "But they didn't say we couldn't improve it." Lisa Martinez had already started examining the medical reports. "These workers are dying from preventable accidents. The safety equipment is terrible." "And look at this," Amy Thompson said, pointing to productivity charts. "The different species aren't talking to each other. The bug workers find problems, but can't report them because the crystal supervisors won't listen to lower castes." Then Carter studied the worker assignments. "They've got some of the strongest aliens doing light work while small creatures try to handle heavy machinery. It makes no sense." Jake made his decision. "We're going to fix this place, but we're going to do it the human way." The first thing they did was hold a meeting with all the workers. This had never happened in Coalition history. Workers were not supposed to talk to management, and different species were not supposed to meet together. The main gathering room was packed. Bug creatures stood next to crystal beings. Gas aliens floated above ground-based species. Everyone looked nervous and confused. Jake stood in front of them all. I know this is strange, but we want to hear from everyone. What problems do you see? What ideas do you have? At first, no one spoke. Workers were not supposed to have ideas. But then a small reptile creature raised its hand. The mining drill in Sector 5 makes bad sounds, she said quietly. It will break soon. A crystal supervisor started to say that low-caste workers should not speak about machinery, but Jake stopped him. Thank you, Jake said to the reptile worker. What else? Slowly, more workers began to speak. They talked about dangerous conditions, broken equipment, and safety problems. But they also had solutions. A gas alien suggested a better way to move materials through the tunnels. A bug worker had an idea for fixing the air system. Lisa Martinez set up medical stations throughout the mine. She trained workers from every species to give first aid. For the first time, injured aliens got help immediately, instead of waiting hours for a proper medic. Amy Thompson created a communication system that let any worker report problems directly to the control room. She discovered that the stupid lower caste species actually knew more about the day-to-day operations than anyone else. Ben Carter reorganized the work assignments based on ability instead of species. Strong aliens did heavy lifting regardless of their caste. Smart aliens solved technical problems, even if they were supposed to be just workers. The changes happened fast. Within 3 days, equipment failures dropped by 60% because workers could report problems before they became disasters. Injuries fell to almost zero because everyone looked out for each other's safety. But the biggest change was something no one expected. The workers started helping each other across species lines. Jake watched through the control room windows as a bug creature showed a crystal being how to operate a drill more efficiently. The crystal being had always thought it was too important for manual labor, but now it was learning from someone it had considered inferior. In Sector 3, a gas alien was translating between two species that spoke different languages, helping them coordinate their work. In the cafeteria, workers from 6 different species shared food and told stories about their home worlds. This is impossible, said Supervisor Velinuk, a crystal being who had worked at the station for 50 years. Different species cannot cooperate like this. It goes against nature. Maybe your nature is wrong, Lisa said gently. She was bandaging a cut on a bug worker's arm while a gas alien held a light for her. Look at them. They're not different. Species competing. They're people working together. By the end of the first week, mining station Theta 7 was producing twice as much as it ever had. Workers were happy, accidents were rare, and equipment ran smoothly. Trade Master Qantas arrived to inspect the operation. Expecting to find chaos. Instead, he found the most efficient mining operation in Coalition space. How is this possible? He demanded. You have workers giving orders to supervisors. You have different species mixing together. This violates every principle of proper management. It works, Jake said simply. Isn't that what matters? Qantas walked through the mine tunnels, and everywhere he went, he saw things that should not exist. A stupid drone was teaching advanced engineering to a crystal supervisor. A gas being was working in solid form alongside ground-based species. Workers were singing together while they worked. In the break room, Qantas saw something that made his crystal structure flicker with shock. Workers from every caste level were sitting at the same table, eating together and laughing at each other's jokes. This worker, Qantas said, pointing to a small, furry alien, is classified as minimal intelligence. It should not be capable of complex thought. A furry alien looked up with bright eyes. I may be small, Trademaster, but the humans taught me that small does not mean stupid. I designed the new ventilation system that keeps everyone safe. And you, Qantas said to a bug creature, are military caste. You should not be doing technical work. The humans showed me that I can be more than just a soldier, the bug replied. I can build things instead of just breaking them. Qantas returned to his office that night deeply troubled. The reports showed incredible success, but everything he believed about proper order had been turned upside down. He called Ambassador Veltar. The humans have achieved the impossible, he reported. Production is up 400%. Worker satisfaction is at levels we have never measured before. But they have destroyed every principle of caste-based labor. And the other stations? Veltar asked. That is the problem, Qantas said quietly. Word is spreading. Workers at other facilities are asking why they cannot have the same freedoms as Station Theta 7. Some are refusing to accept their traditional assignments. Across coalition space, the changes were growing. Young aliens who had never questioned their place in society were suddenly wondering what else they might be capable of. Workers were forming friendships across species lines. Even some supervisors were beginning to treat their subordinates as equals. Jake Morrison sat in his quarters that night, looking at production reports. They had passed the economic trial, beyond anyone's expectations. But he knew the real test was still coming. Think they'll let us change their whole civilization? And Carter asked. I don't think they have a choice anymore, Jake replied. The workers have seen what's possible. You can't put that knowledge back in the box. Outside his window, Jake could see shuttles arriving from other coalition worlds. Young aliens from dozens of species were coming to see the miracle of Station Theta 7 for themselves. The revolution was spreading, one workplace at a time. 2 weeks had passed since the economic trial ended. Jake Morrison and his crew waited in their quarters, but no one came to tell them about the third test. Outside their windows, they could see unusual activity on Nexus Prime. Ships arrived, every day carrying aliens from across the galaxy. Some looked excited. Others looked angry. Amy Thompson monitored the communication channels and heard fragments of heated debates. Workers on dozens of worlds were demanding the same treatment as Station Theta 7. Some coalition leaders were calling for immediate action to stop what they called the human infection. On the 15th day, Ambassador Veltar finally arrived. His crystal body was dimmer than before, and cracks had appeared along his arms. Jake had learned enough about Zephyrian physiology to know this meant extreme stress. The third trial has been cancelled, Veltar announced without greeting them. Why? Lisa Martinez asked. Because it is no longer necessary. Veltar moved to the window and stared out at the busy docking bays. Your species has already demonstrated its cultural impact. The question now is what the coalition will do about it. Ben Carter felt his muscles tense. Are we prisoners? Not yet, Veltar said. But the High Council meets tomorrow to decide humanity's fate and yours. That night, the humans could not sleep. They could hear sounds of arguments and protests echoing through the station's corridors. Jake looked out at the lower levels, where lights burned all night. The broken ones were probably meeting, planning something. The next morning, guards escorted them to the council chambers. But when they arrived, Jake saw something that made his heart race. The huge room was packed with aliens from every level of the station. Workers filled seats that had always been empty. Even some of the broken ones had somehow gotten inside. The 12 council members sat in their traditional circle, but they looked uncomfortable. Veltar took his place as the highest-ranking Zephyrian and called for order. We are here to decide the fate of the humans, he began. Their actions have created unprecedented disruption across coalition space. Worker riots, cross-species cooperation, questioning of established authority. This cannot continue. War Chief Gorth stood up. His massive form cast shadows across the chamber. I propose we exile the humans immediately. Their influence is a threat to galactic stability. Murmurs of agreement came from the upper caste sections, but from the packed lower areas came sounds of disagreement. Workers who had never been allowed to speak in council chambers were making their feelings known. Trade Master Quantus rose next. The economic data cannot be ignored. Stations using human methods show productivity increases of 300 to 400%. Worker injuries have dropped to nearly zero. These results suggest their methods have value. Value that comes at the cost of proper order, Veltar said coldly. We have reports of supervisors taking orders from workers, of different species sharing meals, of lower castes making decisions above their station. This chaos will destroy everything we have built. A voice called out from the crowd. Maybe what you built should be destroyed. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. In the lower section, a small alien stood up. It was the reptile worker from mining station Theta 7, the one who had first spoken up in Jake's meeting. You have no right to speak here, drone, Veltar said angrily. The humans taught me I have the right to speak anywhere, the reptile replied. Her voice was small but clear. They taught me that being different does not make me worthless. More voices joined hers. Bug creatures spoke about learning they could be more than just soldiers or workers. Gas aliens talked about choosing to help others instead of just following orders. Even some crystal beings admitted they had learned new things from species they had always considered inferior. Jake Morrison realized this was not a trial anymore. It was a revolution happening right in front of them. Veltar called for silence, but the voices grew louder. Then something happened that no one expected. Crix, the empathic Zephyrian from the underground city, stood up. Ambassador Veltar, Crix said, his cracked crystal body catching the light. I am your cousin's son. You threw me away because I could feel the pain of others. But the humans showed me this is not a curse. It is a gift. Veltar's blue eyes blazed with anger. You are defective. Your presence here shames our bloodline. No, said another voice. A tall, perfect Zephyrian stood up in the council section. I am High Counselor Zeuthara, and I say my nephew speaks wisdom. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Zeuthara was one of the most powerful beings in the coalition. If she was supporting the outcasts, everything was changing. I have watched the human influence spread, Zeuthara continued. I have seen workers discover abilities we never knew they possessed. I have seen cooperation between species achieve things our rigid system never could. Perhaps it is time to admit our system is not as perfect as we believed. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some aliens cheered. Others shouted in anger. In the middle of it all, Jake Morrison stood up. May I speak? Veltar glared at him. You have caused enough trouble, human. Please, Jake said simply. Just let me say one thing. The room gradually grew quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. Jake looked around at all the faces staring at him. Crystal beings, bug creatures, gas aliens, reptiles, and dozens of other species. Some looked hopeful. Others looked afraid. All of them looked like people to him. We didn't come here to destroy your civilization, Jake said. We came hoping to join it. But we discovered that your civilization was built on the idea that some people matter more than others. We can't accept that because we believe every person has value, no matter what they look like or where they come from. He paused and looked directly at Veltar. You're afraid of us because we're different. But being different is not the same as being dangerous. The workers who are standing up for themselves aren't trying to hurt you. They just want to be treated like people instead of property. Lisa Martinez stood up beside her captain. We're doctors, engineers, teachers, and explorers. We solve problems by working together, not by deciding who's more important. If that scares you, then maybe you should ask yourself why. Ben Carter rose next. We've seen your soldiers. They're brave and strong. But they could be so much more if you let them choose their own paths instead of just following orders. Finally, Amy Thompson stood. We've heard your languages, your stories, your dreams. Every species here has something beautiful to offer. But you've been too busy ranking each other to notice. Veltar looked at the 4 humans standing together. Such a small group to cause such enormous changes. And what would you have us do? Abandon thousands of years of order? Let chaos rule? Let freedom rule, Jake said. Give everyone the chance to choose their own life. Some will choose to mine crystals. Others will choose to lead. Most will choose to help each other. That's not chaos. That's civilization. The vote that followed was unlike any in coalition history. For the first time, workers were allowed to participate. Species that had never had a voice suddenly had the chance to speak for themselves. When the counting was finished, the result was clear. By a margin of 3-1, the coalition voted to offer humanity full membership. But more importantly, they voted to begin reforming their own society, as the humans prepared to return to Earth. Delegations from every species requested permission to send young people to learn more about human ways. The coalition's rigid caste system did not disappear overnight, but cracks appeared that would grow into real change. Cricks approached Jake as they were boarding their shuttle. Captain Morrison, thank you for showing us that being broken does not make us worthless. You were never broken, Jake replied. You just needed someone to remind you that caring about others is the strongest thing anyone can do. The Aurora departed Nexus Prime with more than just a trade agreement. They carried messages from workers to their families, requests for cultural exchange, and hope for a better future. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, Lisa Martinez smiled. Think they'll really change? They already have, Jake said, looking at the data pad full of messages from their new alien friends. One person at a time, one act of kindness at a time. That's how all real change happens. Behind them, across the galaxy, young beings from dozens of worlds were packing their belongings and preparing for journeys to a small blue planet, where they had heard that everyone mattered equally. The revolution was complete, but the real work was just beginning.